Greetings folks, this is Victor Haskins. In this episode, we're going to explore the C major tonality a little bit more deeply by investigating diatonic triads and diatonic seventh chords. Let's investigate. Okay, so before we jump into this too deeply, I want to give you guys some important information up front. So if you're not watching this on YouTube, I suggest you head over to YouTube if for the express purpose to look down in the description box below the video where I've placed a link to the educational resources page on my website where you can download a free zip file which contains the exercises that I'm going to discuss in this video. And of course that zip file has all the common instrument transpositions, which include concert pitch, B-flat instruments, E-flat instruments, F instruments, and bass clef, which is just concert pitch but written in bass clef. Or of course you could just go to your browser and go to victorhaskins.com and go to the educational resources page that way, but there's a link in the description box on YouTube. So go ahead and do that right now so that way you can follow along with it when the appropriate time comes. From this point forward, I'm going to speak about all the musical terms and things in terms of the key of C for B-flat instruments. So I'm actually speaking concert B-flat, but because I'm going to play a lot of these things on the cornet, some things I'll play on the piano, but I'm going to speak in terms of B-flat instruments. So everything you see on the screen is really going to be for concert B-flat, which is why I'm suggesting that you go download that zip file so you can read it for your transposition if you're not playing trumpet or clarinet or tenor saxophone, okay? Also, if you guys want to follow more educational content and performances that I do on YouTube, subscribe to my channel. Also, sign up for my email list on my website because I'm going to be doing some specific things for people who follow that. And also you can follow me on Instagram and Facebook. And with that said, let's jump into this. So, what do I mean when I say diatonic triads and diatonic seventh chords? If you haven't watched the educational episode I did on triads and the basic triad types, highly recommend you go check that out. I've left a link down in the description, and there should be a card that appears here somewhere that links you to that, because that's important information to know these basic things, because we want to build a firm foundation of our understanding of the different kinds of colors and devices that occur in music, so that way we can be fluent in speaking the language of music, whether we're composing or spontaneously composing, also known as improvising. So, or even beyond that, reading music, just understanding things that you're hearing or what the composers are doing in music that you might read or consume. So, when we look at the C major scale, the concert B-flat major scale, but talking in B-flat. So the C major scale, we have 7 different pitches, okay? C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and the octave C, okay? We have 7 different pitches, which means we can derive from that, we can construct 7 different triads. Triads are 3-note chords, and a chord happens when you sound more than one note at a time, okay? So that's a single pitch, and now that's a chord. That's a dyad. Di meaning 2-note chord. Triad, 3-note chord. So this is a triad based off of the first scale degree. Okay, a triad based off of C in this particular instance. I say the first scale degree as in the first note of that scale because it is the same in all 12 different major keys. Okay, so if I were in the key of C, that's our major triad based off of the first scale degree, which happens to be C major, a C major triad. If I were doing this in the key of F, that would be the major triad based off of the first degree in the key of F, an F major triad. But we're not in the key of F, we're in the key of C. So, built off the first degree of that scale is a C major triad. Based off of the second degree of the scale is a D minor triad. Okay? So these triads are being built off of, we take the whatever degree it's built off of, that's now the root of that chord, of that triad in this instance. That's the kind of chord we're dealing with, is a triad, a 3-note chord. So our root is whatever the degree is that we're building the chord off of. And then every triad has a root, a third, and a fifth. Okay, and if you haven't seen the episode on intervals that I made, highly recommend you go watch that if you're not sure what I mean when I say a third and fifth. But I will tell you that the interval is the distance between two notes, and we're talking in relation to the root. So it's important that we know these terms so we can relate these things, and all the cumulative knowledge will make sense. So we're talking about a triad based off of the first scale degree in the key of C major. And is based off of the root C. Then our third of that triad is E, and our fifth, because we're talking in relation to the root, our fifth, which is a fifth interval from the root, our root here, C, G, is our fifth of that chord. So together, root, third, fifth, C, E, G. Okay? So that's our triad based off of the first scale degree. Just want to make sure everyone gets that. I know it's kind of redundant that I'm saying things, but I want to make sure everyone, because everyone's coming from a different theory background. Our triad based off of the second scale degree is a D minor triad. So that's D. That's our third above that, which is F. And then A is our fifth above that. Okay? So that's a minor triad. So we're in the key of C major, but we have a minor triad. So realize that by mixing these notes in different ways, by mixing these colors in different ways, we come up with different colors as a result of mixing. It's sort of like if you take blue and yellow and you mix them together, now you get green. Okay? Even though in the key of C major, the triad based off of the first scale degree is a major triad from the same tonality of C major, the triad based off of the second scale degree is a minor chord. Okay? So just realize that we can get different colors from within this one tonality. Okay, so once again to review, first scale degree triad, C major triad. Second scale degree triad, D minor triad. Third scale degree triad, that's E, that's G, and that's B. That's an E minor triad, okay? Our triad based off of the fourth scale degree, F, A, C. It's an F major triad. Our triad based off of the fifth scale degree, that's G, that's B, that's D. That's a G major triad. Our triad based off of the sixth scale degree, that's A, that's C, that's E. It's an A minor triad. And then the triad based off of the seventh scale degree, B, D, F, a B diminished triad. Okay? So, all these triads are named based off of the intervals within the triad. So let's group all of the triads that have similar qualities, and quality is how we say what kind of triad. Okay? So we have three different qualities of triads within any diatonic. If we're talking about diatonic triads, there's only three different qualities. Okay, so that's major, and the major triads are C major, F major, G major. The minor is that's also major. That was one quality of triad. Minor is another quality of triad, and so the minor quality triads were D minor, E minor, and A minor. And then there's the diminished triad, which was B diminished. Okay? So, what we want to do is, we want to familiarize ourselves with these triads. Because as we play different kinds of music, these triads appear and they become functional, right? They're not just colors necessarily. They when they're used in a successive context, we call that a chord progression when you do something like this. Or to voice lead that a little bit better. Okay, so when we organize these tones in different ways, organize these chords in different ways, now the chords kind of want to go somewhere. All right? And so this is important because as we're playing music or we're composing music, we're telling a story. We're telling a story through the music that we're creating. And what kind of chords you choose, well, actually this goes both ways. I'll say it both ways. What kind of chords you choose determine what kind of melodies that might be available to you, as well as what kind of melodies you choose have an effect on what kind of harmony or what kind of chords you're implying. Okay, because melody and harmony are intertwined. Melody implies harmony. Harmony is derived from melody. Melodies are derived from harmony. They're both the same thing. You don't just have melody over here and harmony over here. The two are interrelated. So when people are improvising, you hear someone improvising, they're creating melodies, and they're finding melodies that are found within the chord progression, and sometimes they are superimposing other chords and implying other chords by choosing different melodic notes. Okay, and so we're not going to jump into that just yet. That's a little bit advanced at the moment, but I just want that to plant that seed in your mind as you're listening to, maybe after this lesson, you'll go listen to some improvisers or listen to some music, you'll hear what they're doing and realize with that in your mind, knowing that like, oh, they're playing these melodies because they're composing melodies that go with the harmonies, or they're superimposing meaning placing other harmonies over top of the existing harmonies in a tune or in a situation, and that's how they're coming up with these ideas. Okay, so we want to become familiar with these triads and eventually with seventh chords, which we'll explain in a second, and we want to do that by playing them. So obviously if you play the piano, you're going to want to play, you're going to arpeggiate, which means play the notes of a chord individually, and you want to play them harmonically as chords all at once. Okay, you want to do those two different ways because the piano functions that way. Now, on a single line instrument like the cornet, you don't have the ability to play three notes at once. So we do want to arpeggiate these chords in order to imply that harmony, imply that chord by playing the notes individually, so or implying the chord by arpeggiating it. So we're going to do that. Right now I'm just going to play it. We're just going to go, we'll do it a couple different ways. We're going to go So right now we're just going up the scale degrees and we're going up the chords. And if you saw the episode I did where I was talking about some different exercises to get a little bit more familiar and comfortable with the C major tonality, which is a couple episodes ago, then you know that we're going to do various iterations of this, various permutations of exercises in order to become familiar with this, so we can hear, once again imagine, we can imagine the sound of these chords in a variety of directions. Okay, so right now we're playing all of the chords going upwards from the root of the chords as we're going up the scale degrees. So you can do that with me if you'd like, starting with C major. I'm just going to do it out of time. Anytime we're learning something new, we want to do it not with the metronome. We just want to do it slow enough so we can grapple, our minds can grapple with it. We can really understand what's going on. So as you're doing it, really think about what the sounds are. And if you can, actually, before you can play it, you might even just sing along with what I'm about to play. That way you can start to get used to hearing those sounds and imagining those sounds, because of course sound originates in our minds. So here we go. So that is all of our diatonic triads from C to the octave C. Now we're going to do it again, and this time I'm going to play up the scale degrees. So we're going the same direction. We're going to go up the scale degrees, but we're going to go down the chords, but up the scale degrees. So we're going to start on the fifth of each chord, and we're going up the scale degrees, so we're going down the chord, okay? So it's a different way to hear it. We're hearing it the other direction. Instead of going up the chord, we're going down the chord. So we're going up the scale degrees. So here's that. So the first note you're going to start on is G, G, E, C, then A, F, D, and so on and so forth. Okay? So that is going down the chords, but up the scale degrees. And now we're going to do the reverse of those. So we're going to go down the scale degrees, but up the chord. So now we're going to go, starting on the upper octave C there, and so on and so forth. So here's that. Alright, and our final permutation, we're going to go down the chords and down the scale degrees. So this time we're going to start on the upper G, and we're going to go downwards, and if we're going down the chord and down the scale degrees. So that sounds like this, starting on G, G, E, C, and then F, D, B, and so on and so forth. Here we go. Okay, so that's all of our diatonic triads. Gosh, that's a really long episode so far. So let's leave it there with diatonic triads for the moment. And in the next episode, we're actually going to go and do diatonic seventh chords, because I don't want this to be like a 40-minute episode. So I want you guys to use the download, once again, in the description box below the video, or if you go to victorhaskins.com and go to the educational resources tab, then you'll see exactly where it says this download correlates with the diatonic triads episode. So check that out, download it, that way you can play along with it. The key is to learn this. So I don't want you to memorize it, I want you to learn it. Okay, and so it's important that you learn these things, these exercises I'm talking about. If they're unfamiliar to you, they're new, it's going to take a little bit of time to kind of get your mind to process it, but the better you learn it and actually internalize it, the more useful it's actually going to be, because it's not just an exercise. We have to stop looking at things as exercises necessarily. We have to look at them as pieces of language. We want to get these diatonic triads because other things are going to be related to these triads, and diatonic seventh chords, we're going to add something to those triads, and we'll talk about that next time and why that's important to know about. But I want you guys to practice these things slowly. I'll probably make a guided practice episode to go along with this episode. That way you guys can have something to practice with showing you how to do it with a metronome if you don't already know how to do that. That way you can have some guidance in how to implement learning this and internalizing these sounds. But it's important to take the time to sing these ideas And of course, you can't sing more than one note with your voice necessarily, so you'll want to arpeggiate. Da 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 da. So you want to sing all these things, that way you can really hear what do those intervals sound like and how do these triads sound different, yet they're all coming from the same pool of 7 notes. So once again, I hope that's helpful for you guys. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down in the comment section down below. Download is down in the description box. Like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, and I will catch you guys in the next video where we will actually discuss diatonic 7th chords. Thank you.